thinking this morning how timely this is, with Cyber Monday being yesterday and this week being Cyber Week for a lot of retailers. It's, I think, a very, very important topic for all of us to know, not just for our businesses, but for ourselves as well. So we're delighted to have Tracey Grace back with us again, President and CEO of IBEX IT Business Experts, to go through cybersecurity with us today. Next slide. So the Center for Women's Entrepreneurship, my name is Anne Flynn Schlicht. I am the director of the center. And this is a few pictures. Jelly's showing you who the rest of the staff at the center are. Kate and Michelle, Mitra, and then we have Azine and Jenna, two of our graduate students. And we are celebrating Center for Women's Entrepreneurship, our 15-year anniversary this fall of supporting women-owned businesses in our region. And we do that through providing them with free one-on-one business counseling and a lot of technical assistance and training webinars, such as the one we're having here today. All of this programming is thanks to the support of many of our sponsors. Our center is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the US Small Business Administration. We also receive funding from a number of foundations, including the Claude Warrington Benetton Foundation, BNY Mellon Foundation, the Hillman Family Foundation, the Pittsburgh Foundation, PNC Foundation, and the Kent Rockwell Foundation. We also have sponsors from corporate sponsorship. So PNC Bank and UPMC Health Plan are our diamond sponsors. Bridgeway Capital is our gold sponsor, and silver sponsors are Dollar Bank, URA, the Mussolini Financial Group, and Meyer Unific and Scott. We also thank our bronze sponsor and media sponsors. And we also have a collective of women business enterprises who support our center, both with financial support, but also with technical support in counseling and training. So we thank them as well. So now I'd like to hand it over to Tracina Cash, who is the Vice President in Strategic Partnership of Corporate Relations with our partner for the webinar today, the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council. Tracina. You're still muted, Tracina.
Hi, I just wanted to share my screen really quickly, but it doesn't seem as if I am able to do that. So, hold on just a moment.
That's all right. We're all learning these platforms as we go along every day as we're doing new things. Some days they work, some days they don't. So.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Tracina Cash, Vice President of Strategy, Partnerships, and Public Relations for the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council. I want to thank Anne for your continued partnership with the EMSDC, and it is now my pleasure to introduce to you today's presenter, Tracey Grace. Tracey is President and CEO of IBEX IT Business Experts, headquartered near Atlanta, Georgia. IBEX is a certified MBE of the National Minority Supplier Development Council, and she's an MBE subscriber member of the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council. Tracey is a two-time alum of the University of Pittsburgh, including having earned her Master's in Business Administration. Her company was founded after leading successful sales teams at companies such as Learning Tree and FedEx, and she currently develops software programs such as Certifiably Diverse to help clients like the UPMC improve and boost their supplier diversity programs. IBEX also works with the CDC, Cox Communications, and NASA, helping them to implement as well as train workers in cutting edge technology. Tracey has said that as a minority woman who is a founder, that she realized all of the value of her company wasn't just based on tech training, but also in connecting businesses with traditionally underrepresented minority businesses. She is, of course, very knowledgeable in IT governance and best practices, but she's also sought out to give presentations, interviews, and the like on diversity, networking, and leadership. This year, her team is very proud to say that Inc. 5000 ranked her company as number 802 nationally, number 31 in Atlanta, and number 38 in, number 31 in Georgia and number 38 in Atlanta of fastest growing private companies. Tracey, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Tracina. I appreciate the introduction. Looking forward to speaking to everyone today. Cybersecurity is so relevant today, more relevant than I could ever imagine it would be. As we go through the slides, I definitely want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the industry of corporate America, as well as federal government, that will definitely apply to your specific business. So hopefully I'll touch a little bit on something for everyone. Next slide, please. So Tracina gave you a little bit about my background. I started IBEX about 8 years ago, and from the time that we launched, we've been working in really high-risk industries. So we started out in healthcare. We work with a lot of university systems, and our largest customers are the federal government, military, Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, and we do have a secret facility clearance. So you'll see how that comes into play as we talk a little bit more later. So we currently have locations in the Atlanta area. We're also in Huntsville, Alabama. We have a location in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we are looking to open another location very near Florida because we do have a lot of business in that area too. Next slide. So today we'll talk about cybersecurity facts and trends. What I want to be able to do is let you know what's going on in regards to cybersecurity that can impact your organization specifically, but then also talk about how what's going on in the industry can impact how you do business. There are times now that corporations are testing us as small businesses to ensure that we have the checks and balances in place. So there's another hurdle to get over in order for you to do business with certain organizations. We'll also talk about best practices, what data breaches are going on, and then a few tools and resources that you can implement. Next slide. Okay, so the purpose is to provide a deeper understanding of current cybersecurity and system protection. So we won't go too deep into technology because I truly believe that awareness is the biggest factor in staying safe. You can spend a lot of money on technology and still get hacked. So we'll talk a little bit about what those best practices look like. Also, how business owners can, as everyone is working remotely, really stay safe and support the future moving forward, and some real world examples of what we're seeing as a secured facility out there in the industry. Next slide. Okay, so first we'll go through a few cybersecurity facts so you can see how important this really is. As a small business, 43% of all attacks are targeted at businesses that are small or medium sized, most likely people who are directly on this call. So I go through a lot of training as we work with the Department of Defense. And the reason is they have found that as we subcontract with larger companies, what they do, what the bad guys do, is they don't actually target the large companies as much anymore. They know that they have firewalls and they have million-dollar systems to help protect them. So a lot of the cyber attacks are actually coming directly at small and medium-sized business who are subcontracting with the larger businesses. So it's a way of getting into the less protected to get to the larger businesses. And so there's a lot of things that are going on, and a lot of boxes that are being put around companies now to ensure that everyone stays safe, and hence then the federal government is protected. So we'll touch on corporate as well as federal government. So businesses are hit by ransomware every 13 seconds, and that is unbelievable. I'm sure that many of you have started seeing an increase and an influx in attempts to get you to click on different links. You may or may not be aware of it, but education, training, and awareness is half of the battle. It is super important that not only you as a business owner or someone working in an organization is aware, but that you actually have a plan in place of what to do when things like this actually happen. 95% of all attacks leverage email. So if you look at the emails that are coming through, you see the ones that are stopped in your spam, but what about the ones that get through on the spam filters? Those are the ones that we have to be careful of. Next slide. Okay, so worldwide spending on cybersecurity is going to reach $133 billion in 2 years. So if you're wondering if you have a child and they're trying to figure out what industry to go into, cybersecurity might not be a bad place. Most organizations are going to have to do something to protect themselves in order to maintain relevancy in the marketplace. Data breaches exposed 4.1 billion records in the first half of 2019. So let's talk about a few of the major types of breaches that we see. So you have hacking, you have malware, and then you have phishing. 3 very different attempts to access information. So what is malware? So malware is designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to a computer system. So it's something that you may download, maybe a music application, thinking that's what it is. But attached to that, there may be one piece of bad software. And if you're clicking through too quickly, it may say, do you authorize to download this also? And you're just trying to get it done so you can hear your favorite song. Well, you clicked that wrong thing. There may be something that's loaded onto your computer that is very difficult to get off. I'm speaking from personal experience because I've done it myself. So be very careful what you download from the internet and what applications you download. You may think that on the App Store, everything is clear, but in a future slide, there's over 29,000, I believe, malicious apps that are removed from app stores all the time. So just because an app is on an app store does not mean you're protected. So then you say, okay, what's the difference between malware and hacking? Hacking is an actual attempt by someone to gain unauthorized access to data in a system or computer. So everyone knows, they've heard of hackers out there. They're sitting behind, you picture this person sitting behind their computer, and that's really what it is. They're trying to figure out how to gain access to your computer system. So once they're in, they can look around, they can find the passwords that you stored on a Word document in your system. They can move around, gain your information, and you'll never know that they were there. Oftentimes, you'll hear of classes like certified ethical hacking. These courses are an attempt to train people how to hack so that they can counteract what hackers do. Okay, I know that's a mouthful, but you got to know how to hack in order to counteract the hackers. All right, so, and then the last major term is phishing. So what is phishing? Phishing is typically when email attempts are made to help reveal confidential information, such as your credit card or your passwords. Phishing is what we see the most of. We get emails all the time, and they will actually somehow, they'll come from an erroneous email address. They will blind it, so they'll name the email address Tracey Grace. So my employees will think I'm sending them an email. And we've had one email that came around to 5 of my different managers saying, hi, I'm out of the office today. I need to make a change to my account. Is there anything you can do to help me? I don't have access to my computer. and they put a signature because they've somehow found that information somewhere, and then it goes to your employees. Well, and the only way that you know who that email is coming from is if you click on the from and you notice that the address is not literally the email address that you thought it was coming from. That's the most common thing. More recently, we've had 2 emails come from what we thought were valid email addresses. We actually provide hardware services to a few organizations. And so somehow we must be on a hardware list, because we will get unsolicited requests for proposals to be able to provide, say, 500 laptops to Broward Healthcare System in Florida. So, you think, okay, great, this is a great opportunity. It must have come through the Supplier Diversity Network. We're going to respond. So we get quotes, we do what we can from our suppliers, we formulate a quote, and we actually responded to it. Then I was reviewing the email and something seemed a little funny. Their response was, oh, this quote sounds great. Let's go ahead and move forward. So I don't know about you guys, but business doesn't usually come that quickly. So I told my salesperson, I said, well, let me take a look at that email that's sent with a request for proposal. And when I opened it, I noticed that the email address was browardhealth.org. Sounded legit to me. But what I did and what I found to be my new testing method is the ending of any email address should also be the URL for their website. So if you're ever in doubt, don't click on the links, but actually cut and paste the ending of their email address in Google. And if that brings up the website, then you know most likely it is a valid URL or email. If it does not, if it goes to a 404 error, you know for sure that it's erroneous. So that's one test that you can use if you're getting unsolicited RFPs asking you to respond to that. Because what ends up happening is you respond with a quote. They say, yes, we want to order them. You drop ship the computers to them and they get the merchandise and they never pay you. So it happens all the time, and there are certain organizations that are much bigger targets than others. But that is one trend that we're seeing, and it's starting to get more and more repetitive. Next slide. So I did have a question. I'm wondering if we can show of hands, and I'll need someone to tell me who raises their hands. I have a couple of questions. Okay, so the first one is, how many on the call are actual business owners? So if you could maybe raise your hand, and then someone can tell me what some of that looks like.
We have 4 people so far raise their hand.
Okay. And then so that helps me tremendously. Okay. And then does anyone who raised their hand, do they actually work on any federal contracts or government contracts?
One of them.
Okay. So we won't spend too much time on government, but I will make mention of a few things that everyone should be aware of for future reference. So thank you so much, Mitra. I appreciate that. Okay, someone said they're searching for contracts in the future, so that definitely is relevant. Okay, so what are the key cyber threat trends for 2021? So we're starting to see a lot everyone's looking at how can we use artificial intelligence as a way of really being more effective and efficient. Well, as you have more computerized systems that are being used in the work environment, you're finding that there's another way and there's an opening for cyber threats. Also, as you're seeing a lot of the shipping and Amazon, all the transportation going on, and you're ordering, your credit card is more exposed than ever. So it's important that you keep all of your information safe. Cyber criminals will capitalize on a lot of that, but also from a healthcare perspective. As a lot of our information is going online, everything is being digitized. You can go and look and see what your radiology report was. All of that, they call it PII, personally identifiable information, is now online. So it leaves a lot more exposure. We definitely all have to pay much more attention to that to ensure that we're staying safe. Next slide. So we'll talk a little bit about the data breaches that we saw in 2020. So everyone's heard about them. They're not always publicized as they once were, but we'll go through a few of them. So Twitter, one of the biggest ones in July that we saw happen was with Twitter. And what happened is they actually targeted a certain number of Twitter accounts, and they gained access and then started sending emails out regarding how, and fake tweets saying that if you invest $1,000 in Bitcoin, you can get $2,000 back in profit. People believed them, and in a matter of moments, they were able to secure nearly 300 transactions and swindle people out of their money. That was just this year, and that was based on a lot of they call it spear phishing attacks. Marriott, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Marriott data breach, but they really kept that kind of quiet for quite a while. So in March of this year, the bad guys, and I call them guys, but the bad guys out there were able to use the reward system within Marriott to gain access to information. And from there, they got names, they got birthdays, they got telephone numbers. And initially, they thought it was only 5.2 million people. That's what was publicized. But how they did it is they got the login credentials of 2 very pivotal people that were involved in the loyalty program. And from there, they were able to access all of that customer information. At the end of the day, the data breach ended up being over 500 million guests. So if you don't think it can happen, it definitely can. Then we have MGM. So you know the resort, Vegas, you go there, you stay there. Well, at the MGM, it appears that over 10.6 million guests, information was uploaded to be able for a free download. So who knows what happened to all of that information? And you will receive an email typically letting you know that you can watch and monitor everything, and it's a free service, but by then it's too late. Who knows what damage has been done? And then everyone is familiar, or most people are familiar about what happened with Zoom. So unfortunately, due to COVID and everything that happened with COVID, many people started using Zoom because it was one of the lower cost opportunities to be able to talk to your family and talk to your business people. And even students were using that. So your children may have been using Zoom, but you heard about those horror stories where people were hacking into Zoom and into the classrooms, into business meetings, gaining information. And what they ended up doing is they ended up selling over 500,000 Zoom passwords on the dark web. So it is very sad to say. And if you're not familiar with the dark web, there is an alternative web, an alternative internet, and it's called the dark web. And this is where some of the most treacherous things happen behind the scenes. We at IBEX have an advanced technology team, and so they are very familiar with what happens behind the scenes there. But that's typically where all of that information is bought and sold. There's a lot of bad things that happen there. I will never advise that you go to the dark web, but I will say it's very important that you're aware that it's out there. It impacts us all. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Okay, so what are the most common causes of data breach. Weak and stolen credentials, your passwords. So I can't express to you enough how important it is that you have strong passwords and you have passwords that are not used over and over again. If you have a bank password that's been used since 2018 and you haven't changed it, you're one of the people who are very vulnerable, because at some point in time, someone is going to see that password through a data breach. And if they keep trying, they're going to be able to access it. So one of the major ways that to help avoid that is by changing your password with some frequency. Not all organizations make it mandatory for you to change your passwords. That a lot of that is changing. They're trying to do more with two-factor and multi-factor authentication. So you really have to be diligent. There are applications that you can use to store your passwords so that you don't write them down. Working from home, it gives more opportunity for that type of information to be stolen. There's an application called LastPass, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it or if some of you are using it, but I had one of the companies that we work with, we actually provide an intrusion detection software system at the Department of Interior. So as part of our conversation with that, they recommended to us that we utilize LastPass as a way of storing our passwords, as opposed to no system at all. So that might be something you want to check out. I'm not endorsing them. I don't invest in them, but it is a system that you should at least know what the technology is, and then also check out some of their competitors to see what they do. Also, so the other causes of data breaches are backdoor application vulnerabilities, too many permissions. So what too many permissions are too many people having access to information. So if you have, what our security policy is a need to know basis. So if you have human resources information that's available to people outside of human resources, then you have too many people with permission to access critical information. As a CEO, I do not have access to HR information intentionally, because as I go to my day-to-day basis, there's no reason for me to need to know what someone's date of birth is. So we've really changed how we look at things. It's not that I don't have the right to have access as the owner of the company. That's not the issue. The issue is how many people will try to attack me as CEO of the company in order to gain that information. So you have to change your train of thought and how you go about security, and use that lens as you make all of your business decisions. It's becoming that important. Next slide. So are you prepared to do business? So I have a couple of real world examples. So we have a contract with the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. And Tracina mentioned that we do business with them to help them be more effective with doing business with small and diverse businesses. So we developed a supplier diversity vendor management system for them. But as we were in negotiations to talk about that, and in the contract signing phase, it took an entire year to get our contract in place. 1/4 of that year was spent on our security posture. We had to go through an entire assessment of our security posture, our policies and procedure, and they actually had to come and rank us. How did we line up, and were we a bad liability, even though the application was going to be a cloud-based application? So as you can see, without us having line of sight and the ability to monitor and manage our security within our IT infrastructure, we're a small business just like you guys are. There's going to be requirements, however, as you're working and trying to work with larger businesses, that you have to adhere to in order to be able to do business. The same thing recently happened. We are working on a contract with a company called Exelon. So they're a large energy company, and part of Our ability to secure business with them was being able to pass a security assessment. So once again, we were familiar with it because we had gone through it with UPMC. And so now we're in the process of going through an audit for, it's called CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. This is a certification that allows your customers to know that you have the checks and balances in place and all of the security policies and procedures in place so that if something happens, what is the scale of escalation? Who is in charge? And who actually handles that in your organization? Our challenge as a small business, we have around 100 employees. However, the number of employees that work in we call it our home office, that actually work on operations, sales, in our core, there are only about 15 employees. So we don't have a security expert on staff. So I'm sure one of your questions will have to be, well, how do you handle this? You're a small business, you can't afford to hire a cybersecurity expert. So what we did is I assigned our VP of operations to be in charge of locating a consultant that could assist us with going down the CMMC path. If you're currently doing business with the federal government has now mandated that by 2021 or 2022, you need to be CMMC certified in order to gain certain types of government contracts. So if you are currently doing business or looking to do business with the federal government, you need to add into your thought process that you need to understand how to secure your infrastructure and have the policies and procedures in place in order to be able to do business with the government moving forward. I'm sure I'll have some questions on that, but I wouldn't mind at all addressing that later because it's very important and that's here and now. It's not something for the future, but the first deadline for CMMC was actually yesterday. So next slide. Okay, so 80% of the problem can be solved by getting the cyber hygiene correct, rather than chasing the latest advanced technology. Like I said, you do not have to spend millions of dollars on implementing a system that's meant for larger organizations. Most of what you need to do in order to be effective in cybersecurity is making sure you don't have leaks. Well, and what do you consider leaks? Okay, so if you're using Office 365, the cloud-based version, that is a good start. The federal government is all moving to the online version of Office 365, and most of it is because of security issues. What you can do is you can implement multi-factor authentication. Yes, it is an issue to do multi-factor because you may have to keep your cell phone with you. So if you forget your password or in order to get in, you may have to have a text code, but we're in that day and age now where that needs to happen. So just get used to it and know that you're going to need some help. If you're not IT savvy or no one in your staff is, you're going to have to outsource some help in order to get to where you need to go to do business. It's just the new way of working. And as business owners, in order to be prudent, we have to do that. Okay, next slide. So how do you stay secure? Training, training, training. Awareness is the key. As an organization, anytime we get new phishing attempts, we'll blind out some of the information about who it went to, and we'll send it out to all employees and let them know, this is what they're using. This is the tactic that we're seeing now. Stay vigilant, stay aware. Do not let them attack us, right? It's us against them. You have to get very serious about it. It has to be someone's specific job to provide awareness. And then you need to come up with a training program. So you find time to train on the applications you use or CRM systems. So you have to find the time and the bandwidth and make it a part of your HR processes to train on cybersecurity. It's just something that is absolutely necessary. Make sure you're updating all of your software applications, because part of what the software vendors are responsible for doing is creating patches that combat all of the latest and greatest cybersecurity tactics. It's super important that you keep all of that up to date. Next slide. So best practices when working remotely: avoid Wi-Fi that is public. Do anything you can not to go onto those backbones. Use your phone. So we all have cell phones, or most people have cell phones. Most have the ability to develop a hotspot. That's what you should be using as Wi-Fi when you're not at home. Starbucks Wi-Fi, you can get hacked. Airport Wi-Fi, you can get hacked. Don't use it. Also, utilize a, so I have a screen protector on my laptop. So when I'm in the airport and you go so far beyond my screen, you can't see what's on my laptop. That's blocking the sight lines. Keep your work on your work computer, because work computers typically will have a security protocol, something that is consistent. Don't use personal information and personal things on your work computer. Lock your doors. All those thumb drives you get when you go to conferences, I wouldn't utilize them because you don't know where they came from. You don't know if they were created in a different country, and sometimes they are used in order to download your information. One great tip is use a USB data blocker. If you haven't seen those, they do have some of them on Amazon. So take a look online. They're not all created equal. However, what they're designed to do, so you're in the airport, your phone's running out of power. What do? You find the closest port and you sit there and you're charging it. Well, the bad guys have already gone there and input something in there so that when you plug in your phone, you're downloading all of your information. So what is sold now are USB data blockers that help to block all of the data that they're trying to siphon out of your phone. So don't be one of the people who don't believe it, or you just think, oh, that will never happen to me. It's not the case. It's highly important that you protect your data. It can come from your laptop, your phone, physical security, lots of different ways. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we are now in the shopping time, right? And today is Cyber Monday. So shopping online is one of the easiest ways to slip up. You're moving quick, you're putting in your credit card in 10 different places, and you may not know if someone may have recommended that you actually go to a new website, but you don't know it's safe. Be careful. Look for errors. Look for grammar errors. That's true with phishing as well as websites. Shop only on secure sites that have SSL certificates. Use a credit card. Don't use a debit card because there's no recourse for a debit card. Your money's just sucked up. Having a credit card, if something happens, you at least can refer back to the credit card company for a refund. And don't give out your personal information. When in doubt, do more research. Ask to speak to a supervisor. If someone's calling in and asking you to pay a bill, ask for their credentials. Ask for more. Ask for more. Don't be the one that gets sucked in. And don't download attachments. Downloading attachments is probably one of the single most ways that things like that happen. So next slide. As a training company, we do offer training courses that can help you to understand not only end user training so that your employees will understand in a more advanced fashion, but we actually offer advanced training for your IT folks. So if you have IT people that you want to be able to handle your cybersecurity needs, we do provide training for that. Next slide. We provide on-site public class training, self-paced, virtual, quite a few different opportunities for training. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware that we do provide training that can help in that regard. And last slide. Last slide will provide you with our website and my contact information. So if you make note of my email address there, and that's also my work phone, that is my direct extension. If you have questions or if you're interested in some training opportunities or some of the other services that we offer, please give us a call and we'll follow up with you. And So I'll pause now and see if we have any questions.
We do. And Tracey, thank you. I know you covered a lot there in a short period of time. And for our attendees today, Tracey does have to leave our webinar a small bit early today. She has a big presentation at 2 o'clock. So we do want to give her time. One question we seem to be getting over and back, and I think it interests people, is you mentioned about this certification, right? So you as a business owner had to get in order to do business with other businesses or federal government. Can you just clarify where you got that certification and the exact name of it as well?
So the name of the certification is the CMMC, and it's something that the federal government just recently has made mandatory for small businesses to obtain. And there are multiple levels of CMMC certification. So level 1 is the very basic level. And there's a checklist that you have to go through to ask, and it asks you questions. Do you do this? Do you have multi-factor authentication? Do you have someone dedicated to IT security? It goes through a process. And so working with the federal government, the first stage of this, they've allowed us to do a self-certification, but they're actually now training auditors so that if you have certain federal government contracts and you claim that you're certified, they're now going to come, and I guess remotely now during COVID, but they're going to come and audit you to make sure that what you say you're doing, you're actually doing. Unfortunately, and I'll just be quite blatant and honest, the onus is put on the small business, and there are extraordinary costs that can be associated with this depending on how far you go. If you want to compete for basic contracts, CMMC level 1 should be sufficient for most basic level federal contracts. But if you're looking to go further and you're looking to really compete for IT contracts that involve the Department of Defense, you're really going to have to go to level 3. And that's where you're seeing that you're going to have to really have some pretty heavy duty security systems in place. So say, for instance, I mentioned that we have an intrusion detection product that we work with on the Department of Interior. As a small business, the federal government is wanting us as a small business to have that same system so that we know if we're being attacked. And then not only that, what the process is once you're attacked. So as you can see, they're not making it super easy for you to do business. So I don't know with the new administration if there's going to be any give or take or any relief, but it's just what we're going to have to do in order to compete. So the companies that are not willing to go that extra mile will have to compete for the fringe contracts. It's the companies, and we're going for it, the companies that raise to the level of CMMC level 3 will have a competitive advantage within the small business. But we've made a competitive, we've done the competitive analysis, we've looked to see what other digital transformation we have going on, and we've made the determination that in order to be competitive moving into the future, we must look at this as an opportunity.
Thank you. And Tristina, thank you. Put the link into the chat feature for the cmmcaudit.org. So thank you for doing that, Tristina. So, and we'll share this in the follow-up with the recording for people as well. I think everybody would be interested in learning more about it, especially if it's becoming more of a requirement to do business with the federal government or with larger corporations. One last question before you leave. There's people asking as well, and this is, again, I'm guilty of this myself, is, where if you save, your computer says, do you want me to save this, password for you? Is that a bad thing? Amazon is wonderful at keeping your passwords. So, so your computer or external, with your online banking and things like that, should you have them say your computer?
No.
Okay.
No. And Tracey, what do you think of certain security programs like Norton and also McAfee? So when you have those downloaded, you can save your passwords to those systems.
It depends. So I'm not an expert on all of them. I did recommend the LastPass as a feature, but if you're saving your passwords, it's definitely not advisable to do that. I would I would much rather see a password locker being the repository saving as opposed to the actual website that you're working on. That tends to be where the passwords are stolen or with the company. I haven't seen LastPass hacked, and some of the others, I haven't heard of those. So we use LastPass as our password holder, and it has a master password that you need to access it. So, but definitely do not save passwords. As much as you can get away from it, don't do it. That's where most of the breaches will happen.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Tracey, thank you again for your time today. I know you do have to head off for a presentation, so we appreciate you being with us today and everybody who's on the call. We have some follow-up things we do, so don't leave us yet. Tracey does have to leave with us. However, Tracey will be back with us again in December for our breakfast series, which I'll tell you a bit more about in a few minutes. So, but Tracey,
thank you so much.
I know you have to head out. Everyone
Yes.
else, if you want to hang on for a few minutes while we close up with some other items we want to do. And I know, Tracina, you have an upcoming event that you want to talk about and make sure people are aware of.
Thank you.
Yes, bye, Tracey. So
there you are, your upcoming event, Tracina.
do you see it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. So I just wanted to share with you all that the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council, first of all, just a little bit more about us. We're one of 23 regional councils of the National Minority Supplier Development Council. We have 650 certified MBEs, as we call them, and over 100 corporate members. Our territory is all of Pennsylvania, all of Delaware, and Southern New Jersey. We have offices in Philadelphia and in Pittsburgh. So our annual meeting for our regional council is 2 days from now, December 3rd. Registration is free. It's between 3 and 5 p.m. And we have quite a bit of programming available to MBEs for the upcoming year. If you so happen to be a person who is an ethnic or race minority, and you are not certified, that opportunity is available to you. You can visit us at our website of EMSDC.org. You can certainly also reach out to me at tcash@emsdc.org. For the most part, our events are actually open, so being a certified MBE is not necessarily required. And if you are an MBE who feels like certification isn't for you or you're not ready for it, there are other options available to you to be more engaged with some of the programming and services that we provide. And then lastly, if you are interested in certifying, but maybe the costs for doing so are prohibitive, please reach out to me. I am literally in the midst of accepting referrals for a certification initiative that one of our large corporate members is underwriting the certification fees for certain businesses that are owned and controlled by African Americans. So, and I'm serious, within days, this is coming up. So I'm really happy to announce that. And again, as I said earlier, at the top of the program, I appreciate the partnership that we have with the Center for Women's Entrepreneurship. We look forward to continuing on in the new year.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate that. And what we'll do in the follow-up to everybody who attended today, we'll make sure everyone gets a link to recording and copy of the slides and information about the annual event and the website and Trina's information as well. So next slide, Mitra. So again, many of you are familiar with our center and our programming. We offer training programs anywhere from starting out in business with our Build Your Business and our Concept to Launch, to our growth programming and webinars and our breakfast series. We also have a great membership program. Next slide. And each month we recognize a member. And this month our member is Deborah Flint, who is a licensed clinical social worker providing individual and couples counseling in Newcastle, PA for over 20 years. So we're delighted to have Deborah as a member, and hope some of you, if you're interested in those services, will reach out to her. We also have on our website a COVID-19 small business resource page, and webinars like the one we had today will be uploaded, the recording onto that. And also all the webinars we've been doing since March in the areas of COVID-19, whether it was federal loan programs, whether it was security or health or wellness, have all been uploaded onto that COVID-19 resource page. So I'd encourage you to check those out. And we also provide free one-on-one telephone counseling and online Zoom counseling to assist with any COVID-19 loan programs, resources, and recovery assistance. So we've done a lot of work with business owners when they were applying for the PPP loans or the idle disaster loans or state or federal loan programs or grants. And now, we're in a new phase where we're looking at the forgiveness aspect. So we have counseling available most days. So check out our website and call us if you can't schedule an appointment. And obviously we have free business counseling as well. It is all remote right now, so it's either telephone or online. And in addition, we also have technical assistance, which is kind of what differentiates us from other service providers in the community. And we have technical assistance in the areas of legal. So we have 2 attorneys who donate some of their time every month to work with our clients. We have accounting, HR, branding and marketing, digital marketing, which has been very, very busy because lots of businesses are moving online or enhancing their online presence. And also, as Trina mentioned a while ago, we also provide diversity certification. So if you are a woman, veteran, or minority, and you're interested in getting certifying your business as a women, veteran, or minority business, we can assist you and provide you guidelines for that as well. And also, I should mention there, we launched in October a funding clinic. So we have been working, and we have counselors working with clients, helping them to fund, put applications together to get loans or refinance existing loans, which has been, a lot of our counselors have been helping our clients. So if that's something you're interested, reach out and let us know. We have a virtual funding clinic right now where we're helping clients do that. Thank you, Mitra. Next slide. So upcoming events. So the last, we've been doing a series called Growing Your Business Online Training Series. It's been hugely popular. And so it was a series of 3 different webinars. The recordings for October and November webinars are on the website, so you can get those online. And then the last in the series is this Wednesday, it's this Thursday, December 3rd at 11 to 12:30. So there's still time to sign up for that one. And that webinar is going to be talking about growing your online presence using tools like social media and other online partners as well. So if you're interested in growing your online presence, I'd encourage you to sign up for that. Next webinar then we have a called Think Beyond the Bank, alternative funding for your small business. So if you are in need of funding and going to a traditional lender or bank is not a possibility, then we have put together a team of what we call nonprofit lenders who will be talking on this webinar about the loan programs and maybe some grant programs that they have to offer to small businesses. So that's December 8th, and that's in the evening time from 6 to 7:30 p.m. That is free, so feel free to register. And if you liked our presentation today, then I encourage you to come back. Tracey will be talking and is the speaker for our December 11th Women Business Leaders Breakfast Series. So, and she's going to be talking about growing her business as a woman minority business owner in the tech industry, working with many different federal agencies, but also large corporations. And I'm sure she'll have many tips and stories to share. So that's on December 11th from 8 to 9, again, a free webinar. And then we're into the new year. So in 2021, we'll be kicking off with a virtual open house. So if you'd like to meet our team, learn more about our programming and services and see where we can assist you best, I encourage you to join us on January 6th for a fun virtual open house from 9 to 10 a.m. Our breakfast series in January will be a live stream, and it will be, we're delighted to have the Executive Director of Public Source, Mila Sanina, who will be speaking to us on
It's been a challenging 2020.
Thank you.
And I know that I have been so
there. All right, and then the last events that we have are, next slide. Upcoming events in the spring would be Build Your Business Workshop, January 9th. That's very, very popular. It is a webinar, sorry, not a workshop, on January 9th, and that we partner with SCORE Pittsburgh. And it's kind of a one-on-one if you're starting out in business, going through the, what are the key things that I need to know from a legal, financial, marketing area. And obviously it's the curriculum has been tailored to address the challenges that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought about for more businesses this right now. Our signature 6-week concept to launch program is going ahead. It will be online and from 5:30 to 7:30 on Thursday evenings. And registration for that is open right now. We do cap it at 30 participants, and I think we have a few spaces left. So if you're interested in that, don't wait too long. And then on January 19th, we are delighted to be offering a webinar on investing with women with the PA Department of Commerce. And also then on January 22nd, we just added this webinar with Mara Unific and Scott. We'll be talking about overcoming the challenges of managing remote employees. And this is, again, we have a lot of people are working remotely now, which again is wonderful, but it brings about some logistical challenges, but also legal issues. So we're delighted to have Mara Unific and Scott working with us on that webinar on July 22nd. So thank you, everyone. I know that was a lot there at the end. We're delighted that you were able to join our webinar today. And I apologize if we didn't get your questions answered, but we will share with you the recording, a copy of the PowerPoint, a few links that was mentioned as well about that certification. And we will as well share Tracey's contact information, and she'd be very happy to talk with you if you have questions going forward. And hopefully you will be able to join us back for our December breakfast, where Tracey will be talking as well on December 11th. Thank you and have a wonderful day, and stay warm out there. First day of snow. Here we go. Thank you. Bye-bye.